everybody. How you doing? Say, I wanted to start out with this interesting picture here for you. Kind of looks like a little bit like a swimming duck, some type of dog-like alligator fish creature. My question to you is, do you think that this organism is still alive? Or do you think it's extinct? Well, what if I told you that this organism is related to, well, let's see here. Let's hold on a second. Do you think, let's look at this guy here. Does he look more like a, let's say, a dog or a fish? What would you say? I would say dog right now. Do you think that this organism looks more like a reptile? So something that lays eggs and has kind of scaly skin. Or do you think it looks more like a mammal? Okay. So what if I told you that this organism is actually a precursor to a whale? Yes, that's right. I knew you would find that interesting. Whales have a very, very interesting past, or we could say evolutionary past. They're mammals, and they swim and live in the ocean, which is very strange because most mammals don't, right? Most mammals we think of with kind of fur and kind of cute and cuddly for the most part, and obviously they live on land and they produce milk and things like that. But whales are just very, very interesting creatures. So we're going to spend a little bit of time today just kind of introducing you to the unique past of whales. So before we do that, let me just flip here a little bit to a couple of slides that I want to show you. Did I do, oh shoot, I didn't want you guys to see me like this. The salons are closed. It's just ugly. I've been trying to do something with my hair. I kind of ended up with a little bit of a mullet, but then, I don't know, I guess shout out to Colton Kinnaman. I thought maybe he would like this. But I don't know, Jimmy, Dylan, can you talk to your moms and just see if there's anything that I could do to fix this just on my own? I don't know. I've tried a few things, but it is what it is. You know what? We're in a pandemic. I don't need to worry about what I look like, right? I'm sure you guys aren't laughing at me or anything like that. So, okay, let's flip out of here. And I want to show you something that is around the topic of what we're going to be studying here today. So let me get out of this screen and go to this interesting piece right here. That creature that you just saw is something called Pakicetus. Actually, it's Ambulocetus, which is an older version of a whale. And you'll notice that the nostrils of the Pakicetus are at the front of its skull. This red line points to it. But the latest version that we have, which is our current version of a whale with some different variations, has its nostrils at the top of its skull, not at the front. So that tells us that there must have been something or a lot of things in between the oldest version that we have and the newest version that we have. So we call those transition species. And sometimes they're called missing links. You may have heard that, more of a common term. But anything that would come in between, we know that we can't have a version where we have nostrils at the front, and then all of a sudden the nostrils get to the top. There has to be some kind of small little tiny changes that happen along the way to that. And that has to do with the activity that you're going to be doing today. Little tiny changes that kind of tell the story of how something has changed over time to become what it is today. So if I click on this button, it shows an intermediate species, which is called a transition species, where the nostrils are in the middle. So that would tell scientists that, okay, this version must have kind of come first, and then this one sometime later, and then this one is the current version that we have today. So it's little clues that help us kind of figure out how things have changed over time. The other thing that I wanted to show you really quickly, and you're going to be watching a short little video about this in just a moment, is how all of those different transition species that scientists have found from when whales started out as land mammals to their transition into an aquatic animal. So lots of different transition species, and we have found different skulls that kind of tell that story. And one thing that you may have also heard of is that whales actually have a hip bone, which is a vestigial structure, something that they no longer use. But it kind of gives a clue that at one point they did have hips, and if they had hips, they had legs. So that if we were at school right now, we'd be spending a lot more time kind of getting into this, but really the whole point is to kind of give you an idea of how scientists problem solve and how they go back and try to piece together how things have changed over time. So the next thing I'm going to just kind of preview for you is Google Classroom and what that's going to look like for you today. I have the video here that is not listed, but you're watching that right now. And then I want you to watch this quick, it's just 5 minutes of a YouTube video about whales and their change over time, and just kind of that whole concept of transition species. And then you're going to get into the activity. The directions are here. It's called Gaps in the Fossil Record Activity Directions. Also looks like this. You could print that out if you wanted to, or you can just kind of display it on your screen. And then there is a chart that you're going to use, which looks like this. So you're going to either print this out, or if you don't have a printer, you can just recreate this on a piece of paper. You probably would do a better job than I did with kind of my yucky boxes there, and I did try to make that look neat, but what this chart shows you is kind of like what you did last time with different layers. So this row represents the oldest layer of rock, and the next row represents one that is not quite as old, and then as we get up to the very top, this would be the newest layer of rock. So that sedimentary rock where scientists find fossils is what this is kind of representing. You're also going to need, either you can print this, which is little fossil organisms. Obviously these aren't real, they're just kind of a simulation. You can print this and cut them out, or you could draw them if you don't have a printer. Just try to draw them very neatly, because it will be confusing if you don't draw them carefully. You could even maybe trace on your computer, how some of you guys sometimes do that. I'm going to pause real quickly. Okay guys, we're back. I took some time to cut up my little pieces there of my fossils. You can see I'm holding my webcam, so it's just a little bit awkward, and yep, there's a pile of Barbies. So I've got this, I printed this out, and you can see the ancient organism here is very simple. It's cut 3 parts here, And the next organism that is going to come would be something that only has one change. And then we know that that would be the next. If there's more than one change, then we would have to put it up a level. So in order to know that they're right next to each other, there should only be one difference. And like I said, you have the directions for this written as well. I'm just kind of giving you a little bit of help since I'm not going to be at your house helping you. But I am going to kind of take a guess that this is probably the next transition species because it only has one difference. It has two segments instead of just one. So the directions tell you to color that one difference. And I'm not going to do a good job of that right now because I am holding this with one hand and things are getting sticky and weird. So anyway, if I wasn't holding that with my other hand, I would make that look nice because that's the difference. Now the next fossil that I want to choose is going to have one difference from this fossil, not the first one. From the first one, it would have two. And I'm going to put that fossil in this spot. Now, what you'll notice here is that at some point in time, there was a shift where we had a branching of this organism into two different species. So this is probably going to be the trickiest part, but once you get this one chosen, this one will have one change from this, but there will also be another one that only has one change. And you will put those in these positions. Now, what's interesting here is there are going to be gaps where nothing goes in that box from what you have in your pile. And that happens with scientists, with paleontologists when they're doing this. So if there's a gap where they don't find a fossil, they will actually come up with a idea of what that might look like. So you are going to draw in what you think it might look like, since we don't have one that only has one difference. So the one up here, for example, will have two differences compared to the one that will be in this spot. This one will be one that you draw on your own. And the same with over here. Okay? So this is going to be potentially tricky. Try the best that you can. And once you've got this figured out and colored and you followed the directions, you're going to be presenting your results. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. I'm just going to pause for a moment. And we're back. So once you've got your completed project, you're going to click on the Flipgrid Summative Assignment, and the directions are listed there for you, along with a link to the Flipgrid. The Flipgrid, you guys have done these probably in other classes, will take you to a spot where you are going to follow some directions and record your results. And the one thing to think about is before you actually do your recording, make sure that you are happy with what you're going to say because you won't have a chance to do it again. So it's kind of a one-shot deal where you share your results and share them with the rest of the class. So have something that you're proud of, something that I'll review them first before I put them up there for other people to see, and I probably won't do it for a couple of days, but it will be your opportunity to be able to share with the rest of the group and also get to see some of our classmates. So that is the last piece. I'm sorry this video is kind of long. I know that kids don't really like to watch long videos. But again, Take yourself through the whole lesson step by step. Email me with questions, and I am looking forward to seeing what you guys come up with. Have a wonderful day.